to DSA's Life by Design. I'm your co-host, Arthur Kay, joined by my other co-host, Natalie Papier. And today's guest, an incredibly talented gentleman and a man doing great things in the design world, Benni Frowein, CEO of Schumacher Europe and Middle East. Pleasure to have you on the show, Benni.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me, Natalie and Arthur. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
So let's kick it off right from the beginning. Where did your love of design start? Where did this all begin for you?
Well, it actually, I thought it started when I started with Schumacher 7 years ago, but, then I kind of, did a little bit of childhood digging, and I found out that, already at the age of 5, I was sitting with my mother on the floor cutting pelmets for our living room window treatment. So I think that's actually where it all started.
I had to actually look up what that word was. I've always referred to it as like a cornice or a valance, but I did read that in your interview.
Yeah. So, and then it also doesn't make it much easier. I'm originally German.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it much easier to then learn it in English and in Spanish and so on. And then, I just moved to the UK. Now the British also have totally different words for crown molding and cornices and so on. So it's kind of fun.
Yes, very fun. And as I was kind of learning more about you, and by the way, I'm just completely honored to be here and talking to you. I'm amazed at what you're doing, and it's really inspiring to me as a young designer. You talk a lot about traveling, and I feel like that's been a huge influence in your life's work. Is that something that you constantly refer back to as inspiration?
Yeah, I do. I think it's interesting. I mean, to tell everyone a little bit more about my background, so I grew up in Germany. I always loved traveling for pleasure, but I also worked in a field before Schumacher as a business consultant. And in that time, I worked a year in China, a year in South Africa, a year in Brazil. I worked all over Europe. So in addition to just leisure, I have a fairly broad, and then obviously for Schumacher in the US. So for, in addition to leisure, I have a fairly broad background also in professional travel. And I think that those travel really, have influenced me along my professional, cultural, and also an aesthetically perspective. Because, professionally, I think you just learn how different cultures work and how people work and how to motivate different people, and culturally you learn how to approach people, no? I mean, in different countries, and how to get what you want. And then aesthetically, I mean, if you just start understanding why people like things and why what I grew up with might work or might not work, or I've always enjoyed that a lot. And I think the US alone has an incredible spread of aesthetics across the country, just given that it's so big, and that, you have mountains and you have beaches and you have, forests. And I just find that all, just fascinating.
You said something that I thought was so fascinating in terms of the way you see the world. As someone who talks for a living, I see the world through communication. So when I hear people either speaking or asking questions, I almost refer back to, how would I have said that? How would I have asked that? When you're going through all these travels around the world, Benni, do you see the world through a kaleidoscope of design? Do you see it as this palette anywhere you go?
Well, I kind of learned at Schumacher to not look at things anymore in a way like, do I like this or do I not like this? Which, for example, as an interior designer, in a lot of cases you do, because you need to stick to who you are and what you do, and you almost need to kind of set boundaries in order to really stay true to your style. At Schumacher, it's very different. We are a design house, and we have over 13,000 references or SKUs in our portfolio, and it's a one-stop shop. So we do from stripes to damasks to contemporary things and so on. So I kind of learned not to judge by, oh, I like this or I don't like this. I started to really try to learn and understand, and I think I got to 80%, to understand, why did someone come up with this, or why is this culture doing it like this, and finding the beauty in that, even if I don't, jump at it from an aesthetical point of view right away.
So with that being said, what do you think the design predictions are next for Schumacher, or where do you see your next steps going?
You mean where we as Schumacher feel like?
Yes, you already have this massive catalog of beautiful fabrics and wall coverings. What do you feel like is next?
I mean, I just traveled to Paris a couple of weeks ago, and I saw in every window white boucle. And for example, I really believe the time is over of white boucle. I do think that people want to showcase their homes again. I think that warm colors are coming back. I think that a healthy dash of drama comes back to interior design. And I think, and the other part is, because you just mentioned we have such a wide range of products already, why would we even add to that? There's another trend that is coming out, and that is, we call it granny with a twist. So I think why I'm mentioning it is because, well, there is maybe a damask that comes back, or maybe it's floral patterns that come back, but it's never, history never repeats. It maybe rhymes. And this portion of rhyme is what we, add to new designs.
You live at this incredible intersection where you're not only guiding a multi-billion-dollar business, but at heart, you're also a creative. So there are essentially two forces at work simultaneously inside of you. How do you balance those two? How do you balance the, here's what I love, here's what I feel makes sense, versus here's profits and here's what I need to do that's right for the company?
So, how our group CEO has set up the company, is that we exactly try to separate those forces from each other. So our creative director and chief creative officer, Dara Caponegro, who before was editor-in-chief of Veranda before she joined Schumacher, she has an incredible sense for zeitgeist, an incredible sense for, what's coming next. The other ones around us, have also, like me, I think I pretty much have, a perspective on design too, but I really try to keep that to the side where I can. I mean, I don't always, sometimes I sneak like a little personal opinion in. So we try at Schumacher to kind of separate that in order to not just make it, all about one person or one vision or something like that. I think that is actually what makes us very successful. So I do mostly concentrate on the business side, trying to build, Europe out and the Middle East. Whereas Dara, for example, is mostly creating, new designs and taking care of the branding.
So what do you consider some of your best learning experiences through this process?
It's funny because, you read those biographies of really successful people, which I would never want to compare me with, but you read this and you want to get inspiration. And so many people say, well, there was 5 things in my life or 3 things in my business that made me successful or that made the business successful. I cannot say that. I think there is a million things that we tried to change and to do, and I think few of them were not successful and most of them were successful. It's very hard to say which parts really made us successful as a company and made me successful as a leader. One thing that I do really like and what I really think about a lot is how much faster our brain is in comparison to our hands. And what I want to say about why I'm saying that is because you have an idea in your brain and you think you thought it through, but then the organization needs to take over, and the hands are starting to do the work, and that always takes longer and it's much more complicated than one would think. And I have really gained deep respect to everyone who works with their hands in that respect and creates things, because it really is very different from just having an idea and thinking of having it thought through.
One of those obstacles that obviously not just affected you, but affected the entire world was the emergence of COVID and how it essentially dismantled our ability to live as a normal society. You and Schumacher did some incredible things during COVID. So I want to turn back the clock. and really understand when COVID first hit, what were some of the decisions that had to be made? You had some incredible pivots. How did that all occur? And you being able to take the directions that you did, both personally and as a company?
I mean, when COVID hit, I think all of us were first of all thinking about ourselves and the people around us. And we were thinking about the organization and all of our employees. So we made sure that everyone is safe. We brought the organization within 24 hours fully up and running at home. We're there with everyone. So I cannot remember a single time of my life where I spoke more over the phone or more through Zoom or more through computers with people. So then we very quickly had to look at our business, because I think, as for everyone, the first 2 or 3 months were an absolute, bloodbath for everyone on the business side, as it was for us. So the first step was really to see and to assess, are we going to get through this time if things are not getting better? Very quickly we thought, okay, we do think that the home industry, with everyone being at home, will be stronger. And we did feel that we would probably get through this, even if we're not going to get to old heights. And that analysis made us become very positive and very bullish about the future and make actually decisions. So again, our group CEO and I have both strategy consulting business background, and I personally have advised companies going through downturns before. And, there's always a time after. And I think those downturns and those difficult times are the ones where you can actually grab market shares from others. So once we knew that we had a chance to get through this, we decided, okay, are we going to play offense or defense? And we certainly decided to play offense.
I think that is amazing and it's really inspiring. What has this whole experience been like for you to launch Schumacher in the UK? And that is a huge ordeal.
Well, so first of all, we really decided to become even more digital than we were before. The whole organization became digital. People could work from home. It started with things like, that everyone got an iPhone with voice over IP, so that you could actually have your showroom phone number at home and be reachable with everyone. So all of that we implemented in no time. Part of that was also, our website, so that people could actually, work from home, digital libraries, so that people could, scheme from home, things, all of that to actually facilitate that on our client side was the second step. So, and then we said, okay, we need to also diversify, and we really want to come to Europe. I don't know how many people know that, but Schumacher actually started in Paris. Our founder, Frederick Schumacher, decided in the year 1889, by the way, the year that the Eiffel Tower was completed for the expo in Paris. So he decided in 1889 to pack his bags and go to New York and sell to the high society of Americans the most beautiful and special fabrics. He would come back every year, and he would travel 3 months through Europe and find the most beautiful fabrics and wallpapers and bring them to the US and sell them again. So this is how the company started for a long time. And for us, it was very important to bring this back. So we started in the UK. We launched the brand just 3 weeks ago in France, which really felt like coming home. And we've been actually humbled, and I've been personally floored by how open interior designers and design enthusiasts have been welcoming an American brand and American design aesthetic in Europe.
You'd mentioned movement in the digital world right now. And as someone who is going to be 44 years old in May, I remembered, I was telling Natalie this on Tuesday, I remember a world before cell phones and before Macs and PCs and everything. To see how quickly the world is advancing now and how quickly it's moving because of the digital revolution is just mind-boggling to me. As a company, how do you guys keep up with that? how much conversation has to occur internally in order to make sure that you are keeping up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I can perfectly remember the first time I got a BlackBerry, and I felt it was so cool, and you could read messages on it and so on. So I'm totally in your camp with that. It's interesting because I think, and again, I have to give this credit to our group CEO, Timur, who, always said, well, digital first, and we need to invest into digital. And we, as an executive team and as the whole organization, we really embrace that. And with that comes, that everything you do, you think about, okay, so how could this look in a digital world? Or does that make sense digital? And it does not mean that we feel like digital only makes sense, So, I mean, we very much believe that our showroom network across the US and Europe makes a lot of sense. We very much believe that if you want a community and want to create a community and support a community, it's important to be in person there. We very much, have also expanded into our outside sales team so that people actually can be visited by us, again, in the US and also in Europe. So, for me, it's more about, switching between different, TV channels, and it feels all super seamless. And sometimes you want to watch the digital movie, and sometimes you want to watch the real life movie, and sometimes you just want to pick up the phone. And it all needs to be integrated. And that is something that we started long before, because we felt that it's super important. You see this in other industries. I think actually, to be very honest, our industry is kind of sleepy in that regard. And I see a lot more, improvement coming in the next years.
There's just such heart when you talk about your business and your role within the company. And you come from this background of business knowledge and appreciation for design and the artistic, components behind it. Is there a favorite part of your role within Schumacher?
I mean, I love the design part. I think the passion you hear is that I'm like fully on board with this company. I'm fully on board with the legacy that we have. In recruiting conversations, I say, look, I'm not here because I have to be here. I could quit tomorrow and probably would find a different job. I'm here by choice because I love it so much. And, what I like most, you asked me what I like most about particularly Schumacher, and then I talk about the industry. What I like most about Schumacher is that there's no politics and people don't have egos. And if you take both of that out, you suddenly really only, fight together to bring this brand and the product and our vision forward. And you spend very little energy on stupid internal things, which I love. The reason why I love this industry is because I think that we all share something very fundamental, and that's the value of living a beautiful life. And when I'm at industry dinners or industry events, I feel like I share that with everyone, and that's why I like everyone, and that's why I enjoy being with everyone. And that's a pretty big privilege. So I would not want to work in a different industry.
In getting to know Natalie and Natasha, and obviously the incredible work that the DSA is doing, it's incredible to see the community that this organization has built. I wanted to talk to you, Benni, about your relationship with the DSA and what you're seeing about the wonderful community that they have built and the work that they're doing.
Well, Arthur, thank you for asking this question, because I think it starts with the fact that the DSA, as much as Schumacher and us and me personally, we believe that creating a community in this field is important. During COVID, I, started business development skills, Zoom webinar series for interior designers to kind of, help them with their business and help, cut cost, at the beginning of COVID, or, how to bill your clients or something like that, just to give also business support and creating and fostering a community like that. When I got to know Natasha and Natalie, and I learned more about the DSA, I was really impressed how much they have been doing, because I think it's twofold. It's them creating an industry standard with their certification, which I think is amazing. because on the one hand side, you make sure that people do need a certificate, but on the other hand, you're actually very inclusive by offering people to take this classes and obtaining this certificate. So this is on the one hand side. On the other hand, I really appreciate that you are working on the community, because everyone is entrepreneurs. Everyone started this for the love of design, and suddenly they're all thrown into running a business. And that is challenging. And it can be also very lonely, especially when you start alone, not with a partner. So that's what I really love about DSA.
So many things that you just said there just struck a chord with me. It is lonely, and you're driven by this passion, and that's what's feeding you. But it's so important to find this community to encourage each other and gain knowledge from each other. With that being said, I found a great deal of success with my community on social media, Instagram. How do you think social media plays within your business?
I find it incredibly important. So on a personal level, I can connect with a lot of our clients, and I have in the US and in Europe, because a lot of people find it important to also understand who is actually behind the brand. And it's super important for me to get a reality check and not just sit in my ivory tower, right? I mean, I think I would be a terrible leader if I wasn't out there, and if I didn't know clients, and if I didn't also hear the things I don't want to hear, of which there is quite a few. The second part for Schumacher, I think it's super important. It gives us a way to be closer with our clients. It gives us to also increase our reach, and to show people what is possible. I mean, the amount of exposure we all get to pictures is incredible. And I think we have the opportunity to show people what we think good design is. And that doesn't only necessarily mean it needs to be Schumacher in it. It also means, how you properly design, how you create it or make a beautiful pillow. How do you put things together? All of these things we have the opportunity to share with the community. So social media for us is super important.
You'd mentioned the word leader. I'm a leadership nut. I love reading books and articles, anything about the mindset and the mentality that make great leaders. Was there a moment for you, Benni, where you realized that leadership was the key to what you were doing, where you almost had to turn a switch and say, I am now a leader, and this is how I'm going to approach it?
Well, you're mentioning the transition from being a team member and becoming a leader. And I think that's emotionally very hard, because suddenly you're not giggling with your colleagues anymore. Suddenly you're not getting, funny emails from your coworkers anymore. Suddenly you're on the other side of the fence. And as someone who likes to be liked, like me, that is a difficult step, because you somehow still want to be the nurturing person, and you still want to have a personal relationship with everyone, but then at the same time you need to put up boundaries in order to be able to lead. I found that terribly difficult. I would say until today that I don't know whether I'm a good leader or not. I think the last year showed me that I'm at least not failing at it. But I really like being a leader, because I sometimes feel I am able to inspire people, or I'm actually able to help people find their career, because I'm just being a couple of years ahead of them, and I've went through this all myself, and you can pass that on, which is a very fulfilling experience.
It's very, very cool, and something I completely look up to you on. I feel like there's a lot of pressure that comes with something like that, but also a lot of excitement. That's a huge thing for your age and stage in your life. It's amazing.
Well, I love to look at the exciting part of it. I mean, I have a lot of, days where I feel a lot of pressure, and where I feel like, oh my God, everything is falling apart, which obviously isn't. So I think, and this started more and more in the UK, where when you build something, this is just, the volatility is just much higher. And I have deep respect, so when I was in the US, I had this huge organization backing me also up. And in the UK now, we started fairly small, and we really grow this Schumacher business here. And it's a very different experience. I have deep respect for everyone who starts their own business. It's hard.
I can imagine. But can we talk about some really fun stuff? Can you tell me more about this Schumacher Library of printed fabric?
I love that you're mentioning that. The Schumacher, so it started many years ago when we decided that we would stop sample books. So sample books are these books where you have real fabric or wallpaper samples in, and they normally have, I don't know how many, 300-400 samples. They're very expensive to make. And you never know who really needs it, who really buys from it. Then you discontinue something, and just one piece you discontinue in there, and it's already loses its value. So we decided to stop doing that and rather give people the choice, or clients the choice, to order samples, actually the samples they want in the combination they want. So at some point we thought, okay, but there's nothing comprehensive that people actually see besides when they go on their website, and there's nothing they can take to their clients. So the idea we had was to kind of create a catalog that would feel chic and elegant and inspirational, but at the same time would be super usable to actually scheme from, or to take to your clients and find inspiration, and from which you would then order a real sample.
I love that, because I find it so important to hold things, to see things right in front of you, not just on the computer.
Before you jumped on, Benny, we were talking about some of the many cool collaborations that Schumacher has had. And one of the ones that we were discussing was Frank Lloyd Wright in the 1950s. And you guys have had some really cool ones. Natalie's actually from Chicago, and there's a huge Frank Lloyd Wright presence there. I want to talk to you about some of the cool collaborations you've both gotten to partake in, and maybe some of the ones on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, really, Frederick Schumacher, our founder, was a visionary in a lot of different senses. Number one, moving from Paris to the US. Within 10 years, he had his first products in the White House. Within actually also 10 years, he collaborated with Waldorf Astoria on their first, hotel in actually downtown Manhattan before they moved up Midtown, on the breakers and so on. And he also very early used his relationships to create collaborations. So one relationship, or one collaboration that he started with was with Paul Poiret, a French fashion designer who much earlier than Coco Chanel got rid of corsets and increased the hemline. He was also a visionary. So we did a collection with him. We did a collection with Joseph Frank in 1947, which still is super successful with our citrus garden, which just recently, for example, has been installed in the Marbella Club in Spain, and it's been all over Instagram. We've done collaborations in the 90s with Karl Lagerfeld, for example. And then recently, with Hamish Boltz, for example, for Vogue Living. We've done one with Johnson Hardick from the LA-based fashion brand Libertine. We just launched a collection with the Cabana magazine and Martina Mondadori, which is absolutely stunning. And there's many more collaborations coming out, one of which is with Victor Glimot, who comes from Haiti, which we feel very excited about. And I think this is launching in the spring, early summer 2022. So watch out for that. I think everyone will be really amazed by it. About all the other collaborations on the horizon, I don't want to speak about, because it's always good to have some, surprises up your sleeve.
What are your favorite exciting new things that are happening in the design world right now? I mean, for me, I'm seeing this resurgence of color and this curated maximalism moment that I think is really interesting and fun, because it brings in a little bit of levity and quirk into a design, which I feel personally like is important in making things not feel so formal or serious all the time. Is there something that you're seeing that's trending now or coming back that is exciting to you?
I mean, I certainly love the idea of the maximalism, because I think that shows that there comes a lot of joy again to your home. It's not about creating as, I don't know. I just feel like, your home should be about joy, and about making experiences and memories. And I do feel this is coming back very, very strongly. You can call it maximalism. Some, go more into the, I call it granny with a twist, direction. It doesn't matter. I think it matters that people actually want to do things again. So that's one thing I'm observing. And the other thing I'm observing is the movement to warm colors, like burnt orange, spices, brown tones, which I personally just also feel very excited about.
Me too, as you can probably see my ceiling.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. I mean, I have white walls. I just moved into my apartment, so it's still very clean, and nothing has happened yet. But I'm certainly also going to follow this trail there.
I cannot wait to see what you do. It's going to be amazing.
Before we let you go, Benni, just a quick tidbit. We had read that you have extended family who own hotels. Just so you know, Natalie's dream is to design a boutique hotel. So if any point there is a connection made, I actually want to producer credit. No, but there you connect her to family, whatever we could do, right?
Listen, Natalie, I hate to admit, but we are competing on that. I wish I had the opportunity of designing a hotel. Unfortunately, I'm not being let.
I know. Maybe someday we'll both have the opportunity.
Maybe someday. I would love that idea. Maybe we work together on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I would. I'm in.
Great.
Benni, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for a wonderful chat. Thank you for joining us on Life by Design. Just an incredible career, incredible stuff you guys are doing in terms of bringing Schumacher to Europe and to the other parts of the world. Fantastic, fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone out there listening to all of this. And I'm excited for everything that DSA is doing. Thank you for doing that, because you do this in magic time. And I can't wait to see more of you.